is that the leadership of the government of Kenya are very comfortable at the presidency level, knowing very well constitutional violation of resource allocation meant for deliberate marginalization, redress has not been released and 10 years has lapsed. The new revenue sharing formula, the Commission of Revenue Allocation, or commonly known by its initials as CRA, is mandated by the Constitution and under Article 203 to determine the formula for sharing national funds. Last week, the CRA gave its recommendations for third revenue sharing formula that determines how much money goes to the county governments every year. Now, in that formula, while trying to give certain percentages, everything has been pegged on population. But not only population, everything has been pegged on what the leadership of Central Kenya has shared as concern in recent meetings. For example, the CRA consultative draft does not really give on what basis they have chosen the parameters that they have used. There is discussion of issues to do with the Big Four agenda. For example, if I take on agriculture, where the CRA proposes to give 10% for purposes of addressing food security in the country, which the ASALs need also. But CRA fails to allocate an equal amount of 10% to water security, which is a major problem for the ASALs. When we analyze the formula very well, what has come out is that the population factor shall therefore determine close to 70% of resource allocation. And the CRA has assumed all the 47 counties are at the same state of development, forgetting the state of underdevelopment that has occurred as a result of deliberate marginalization. The analysis by the leadership of PG and FCDC have determined the ASAL counties are going to lose close to 100 billion shillings over the next 5 years if this formula is adopted by the ASALs. I know it irritates many leaders, particularly those from Central Kenya, when they see the leadership of the ASALs discuss issue of marginalization. And even so, the leadership of the country, because many a times I've come across where you mention marginalization, people saying that has been addressed by resource allocation through devolution. Marginalization is not a switch that can be just turned off. It is a state of underdevelopment accruing over 50 years of neglect by successive governments in Kenya. It can only be addressed through deliberate, sustained resource allocation for purposes of making sure inequalities of the past are properly addressed in a planned manner. Even where departments are formed, such as ASAL Department in Devolution Ministry, no resources are allocated for purposes of making sure that proper development is realized. On census, in 2019, census shall determine how revenue shall be shared. The government is proposing the use of, a system-based approach, regardless of which they are going to use, whether it is biometric or otherwise. We support 100% of use of the best technology there is out there in the world as leadership of Northern Kenya. But we want the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics to tell Kenyans what plans, what strategies they have put in place to deal with the pastoral way of life of ASALs in order to make sure that census take place, and that is not sample, meaning 100% of the population of this country are going to be counted. While Kenya National Bureau of Statistics have made the nation believe the ASAL counties have cheated on their numbers. We believe as leadership of ASAL that not even half our population was counted in 2009. Now sometimes God speaks for population that are disadvantaged like ours. Then when we hear a few leaders from Central Kenya saying we want to urge the President of the Republic of Kenya, which we echo, to make sure that the best technology there is out there in the world is used for purpose of making sure census is undertaken. But what we want is a strategy that determines everybody in this country is counted using that technology. And once the result is out, we don't want to hear issues to do with the smooth end. It does not conform to the patterns and other nonsense that has been shared in the past. What we want to hear is a census result that need to be, done as diligently as required and released. We welcome the effort, and this should put to rest the discussion about whether people are making a statement of threat, like northern Kenya. We are counting trees, human beings, and other issues, but people who sound like they're gifted with thickness, to say the least. What we want to request is the system of government must put in place, using the best technology there is in the world out there, to carry out an exhaustive census of the population. Because even the 2009 census, we believe, has not exhaustively captured the population in the ASALs owing to the nomadic and pastoral way of life. In conclusion, the leadership of the ASAL counties under the auspices of the Frontier Counties Development Council and the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group shall pursue these issues through a political process that shall imply finding like-minded political leaders to get legislation through the National Assembly and the Senate to reject policies that shall negatively affect our region. We have seen the leaders now dictate the policies of the national government from the central parts of the country. Constitutional bodies have been carefully crafted by bureaucrats from central Kenya, and leadership have been put in place, starting from TSC, Kenya Commission of Revenue Allocation, and others, in order to guide a deliberate policy decision that is aimed at marginalizing the ASAL counties further. We have observed with much amazement worrying statements coming from some parts of the country that clearly shows that these so-called leaders are not acting in the spirit of building bridges and fostering national unity, especially when a leader describes the population of northern Kenya as goats, cows, and trees. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Rehema Jaldesa. I am the Secretary General for the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group and the Women Representative of Isiolo County. I would like to echo the sentiment by the Chair of FCDC. And without repeating what he has said, I want to emphasize by saying that there are some community in this country who think that Kenya is their birthright, that this country belongs to them and only them. Today, I have a message for them that Kenya has moved on from 1963 to 2019, that other communities have gone to school. Other communities have had their strategies. And therefore, the notion that this country, the power, the economy, everything belongs to them is nothing but a myth, and that they are in a big slumberland, and it is the high time they wake up. Why am I saying this? You have heard statements that the pastoralist communities have no numbers. And on that one, I want to say this, that the pastoralist community, first of all, are predominantly the Muslims. And even those who are not Muslims are Africans. And therefore, they are allowed to marry as many wives as they can possibly do. And therefore, no, I'm just saying the Africans, the Maasais, the Pokots, they can marry as many wives as they can. Back to us, the Muslims, we are ably allowed by our religion to marry 4 wives. And therefore, our men have married and they have given birth to children. Therefore, the population of the pastoralist community from statistics has been proved that when other areas have a household population of 2, we have a household population of 8. Therefore, I want to say, bring it on. We are ready for the census, but the message is this, that first of all, the census is under the Ministry of Planning, and that is where it should be. Secondly, the census process must be transparent, must be fair, and must be inclusive. We are the stakeholders, we are the representative of our people, we must be involved. On the issue of biometric, we have absolutely no problem with biometric. But my message to Kenya is, where is the SAFA? We want to know the transmission process. We want to have a success story of biometric in this country. The last I know, the biometric has never worked in the election process of this country. It has been disputed, it has caused death. Therefore, we want to be told the truth. As I conclude, I want to say this. When the results came out, some of our counties, the results were withheld. And before, we were told the examination process was watertight, there was no rigging. But when some of our counties, the students scored A, it became an issue to some quotas. Therefore, we are saying, please, can you just move on? Kenya has moved on. When most of you are busy having good time in bus, we are busy in Martha's bedroom. Therefore, people should just realize that other people are having strategies just like they are doing. So we are watching you, we are prepared for you, and take note of that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, members of the Fourth Estate. My name is Major Retired Bashir Abdullahi, Vice Chairman of the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group. First and foremost, I want to echo what my colleagues have said. I want to agree with them in totality, but just maybe to emphasize 1 or 2 things. On the issue of CRA, I think the new formula is very subjective and discriminatory to certain parts of this country, and more so to the pastoralist communities and the ASAL counties. It looks like the formula favors counties or areas that are already endowed. And so we are seeing a situation whereby sessional paper number 10 of 1965 is being brought through the back door. We thought devolution is godsend and is working properly, but we are realizing certain parts or certain sections of Kenyans do not want devolution to work because they have enjoyed natural resources since independence on their own, and now they are worried that other counties and other places are sharing the pot with them. So for CRA, my message is that that formula is not working, is unacceptable, and I want to call upon the Senate to reject it in totality until it is put into public participation. The issue of saying that counties or marginalization is not there is null and void. We are asking for our share in Kenya. We are not visitors, we are not guests. For your information, 70% of this country is occupied by the pastoral communities. And yet, the resources is going mostly to only 14%. People occupy 14% of this country, and yet the resources are going there. We are telling them we can't accept. On the issue of census, we do not want securitization of census, making it like it's a security matter. Let census be done by Ministry of Planning under Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. It must be fair. It must be an all-inclusive. And as has been said, when results are going to trickle in, it should not be received in the backdoor offices. It should be displayed, and actually we want it displayed in Bomas, that county so and so, the results have come in, and we want to see it. So anything short of that, we will not accept. We are aware that certain communities have started targeting the pastoral communities and doubting their existence. As has been said, you don't doubt our numbers, because in every family we are 8. Minimum. The person making noise the other day who says he's also another honorable has in his household has only 2. In my household I have 6 and counting, and yet you want to compare your numbers and my numbers. And this is to Honorable Moses Kuria. He has 2, I have 6. He has 9, he has 10, and you still say that we don't have the numbers. Bring it on, we are ready for you. But for members of that region, you have had 3 presidents out of the 4. Even that, Kenyans are magnanimous in telling you, please, we have given you 3 times or 3 presidents so far. And you have enjoyed everything, and you have 15%. Time has come to tell you the truth of the matter, and that you are not afraid, and that you are not the only ones who will be calling shots in this country. Every Kenyan has a right, every Kenyan has a voice, and every Kenyan will be counted, and decisions will be made by all Kenyans as a whole. Most important, we are all Kenyans. Let that be our singing formula. But trying to discriminate, trying to do ABCD, we will not accept. And I want to tell them, we are ready for you, do whatever you want to do, but it must be done within the Constitution, within the law, and for the benefit of Kenyans. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Okay, we don't answer questions. Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Mohammed Dahir Duale, MP Dadaab, member of the Pastoralist Parliamentary Group. And I want to make a statement on the education sector, particularly the shortage of teachers in northern Kenya, more so in those areas which are security prone. Members of the Fourth Estate, you are all aware that we are opening the schools this week, but the situation of these counties is so desperate that we are not sure whether people will go to school. Because of the spate of insecurity, as you are all aware, related to terrorism, in recent years, the northern parts of Kenya have experienced massive flight of non-local teachers. Recently, the Ministry of Education, through the Cabinet Secretary, ordered teacher training colleges to enforce an affirmative action approach to allow school leavers from 17 counties to join teacher training colleges under special arrangements. To our amazement, the Teacher Service Commission rejected this plan and has since encouraged the trade unions to go to court to oppose the affirmative action which was done by the Ministry of Education. This issue has only increased our suspicion about the government's tension on matters regarding ASAL counties and its plans to further exclude our people. I want to say this. We have had
perennial shortages of teachers. Many of our schools do not have teachers. The Minister of Education has actually, together with our input, thought of a way of providing sustainable teachers to that population. And what was done was to actually give affirmative action to train students from those areas. This is the most logical thing to do. It does not matter if we have 300,000 teachers in Kenya who are unemployed, yet you cannot get those teachers to these 17 ASAL counties. What we have actually advised the ministry is to help us train locals from those areas. We are aware 60% of teachers, currently P1 teachers, working with the TSC have grade D, below the minimum requirement for C-stand right now. And we are utterly shocked that somebody in TSC is saying that they will not allow students with D+ and C- to go for teacher training. I want to say the challenge to TSC is you have a responsibility to provide teachers to the children in those 17 counties who have shortage. Those children have a right like every Kenyan. Currently, there are no teachers from, and it will not matter for you to tell us you have over 300,000 because that has not been helpful to give us teachers. We are asking the government of Kenya, because we are also shocked. TSC has rejected the position of policy from its ministry. The policy position is actually a ministerial function. And TSC is only mandated to recruit and deploy teachers. It is not their mandate on training. Training, curriculum development, teachers training colleges, the National Examination Council are all under the Ministry of Education. So we are saying this matter will not go down with us. We are going to the courts. We are also going to Parliament to actually address this issue, because it is not only the counties of Garissa, Wajir, Mandera, but there are 17 counties which are affected and which this policy would have helped. Thank you very much with those many remarks.
Na mtazamaji, ni taarifa ambayo tunaipata moja kwa moja kutoka kwa magavana